I need to tell you all is that I believe in the George Burns theory of a good Sunday talk. He says the secret of a good sermon is a good beginning, a good ending, and have them as close together as possible. So, good to know. So my talk today is based on a Facebook post that caught my eye, and I've got it up here and I'd like to read it to you. And I believe you, Martha, did you say you saw it too? I mean, it just spoke to me, and I saw it about 2 months ago, and I said, okay, when I talk, I'm going to talk on this. So here it is. Finding yourself, which is my topic, is not really how it works. You aren't a $10 bill in last winter's coat. In fact, you are not lost. Your true self is buried under cultural conditioning, other people's opinions, and inaccurate conclusions that you drew as a child. Well, that fits me. I don't know about you, but that really fits me. Yep. So let me push to the next slide and just review that. So you've got the cultural conditioning, you've got the opinions of others, and you've got the thoughts you had as a child. So, and it says here that we're all buried underneath this. When I shared this with Rebecca, Rebecca said, how in the world do we ever get clear of that kind of stuff? And it is a lifetime journey. All of us have been on it because, you know, we were not brought up, most of us, in this teaching, which says we're whole, we're perfect, we're complete. Who was brought up in this teaching? We have anybody? We have one or two, maybe a sideline. Marita had some, but we have one. Fabulous, thank you. Marita will come up now and do the rest of the talk. Because as most of you know, I was brought up, what? Catholic. Catholic, yes. So here we go. I'm the youngest of three. I have two older brothers, and very Catholic family. My dad was very Catholic, my mom was very Catholic, so of course the three of us were brought up very Catholic. And my view of religion, I have a little funny, I think, about religion is what Winston Churchill says, and I'm going to read what Winston says. He says, religion has convinced people that there's an invisible man living in the sky that watches over everything you do every minute of the day. And this invisible man has a list of 10 specific things he doesn't want you to do. And if you do any of these things, he will see you, and then you will burn in hell forever. And you will be tortured, and you will suffer, and you will scream until the end of time. And this is what I learned in Catholic school. And as Winston Churchill says at the end, but he loves you and he needs money. That about nails it for me. Every Sunday I'd sit there and I'd hear the burning, 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 and then they need money. My third grade nun, because I went to, we need money too, right? My third grade nun, here, I want to read the cartoon. This is under cultural conditioning. If you're happy and you know it, that's a sin. That's how I was raised. If you're happy and you know it, that's a sin. So don't be happy, don't be whole, and for whatever, don't be your true self. My gosh, that was so clearly stated. All the nuns I had were in their late 80s. There's no doubt about it. And I was in a classroom, and I didn't go to the best Catholic school. There were 50 kids in my first to second and third grade class. 50 kids. Can you imagine the kind of education you get with an 80-year-old nun, 50 kids? So how she would manage us, you know, she'd have that cross hanging, that rosary and the cross and the ruler. She never hit kids, I will say that. But she would scare us to death, and she would always say, I can remember this, you are to write 100 times, I must be silent. Well, that did not work on me. But she also wrote, we must write, I am not worthy. I am not worthy. That's what they taught. And every time you read a catechism book, I found one in my garage the other day, and it was first sentence, I'm not worthy. So that's that cultural conditioning. And so today I am worthy. I do feel I'm worthy, but it's taken me a long time to get there, as all of us agree. I love this cartoon from the 1950s, not cartoon, ad. It's an advertisement from the 1950s. It's two men on a hill, and they got a woman down below, and they're pulling her up, and the ad is for sweaters, and the ad says, men are better, the title of the advertisement, men are better than women. Indoors, women are useful. On a mountain, there's something of a drag, and they're physically dragging the woman.
Wow.
The woman is physically dragging the two men down.
Well, that would be, yeah. Either way,
I'm just saying.
And then there's one about coffee, and it's about ketchup, and even a woman is capable. I mean, these ads from the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. It's unbelievable. So the cultural conditioning is all over us. The second item is limitations that we have as what other people's opinions are. And we're always talking about that here, pleasing, people pleasing. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting your friends to think highly of you. I mean, I want my friends, the people I care about, to think highly of me. But when I'm giving away my power to people I don't care about, that's part of that conditioning. And that's not doing me or you any good. For me, I grew up in the 60s. I knew as a teenager that I was gay. Well, that's not something you're going to be sharing. So, I mean, you're just hiding yourself. You're living in a state of paranoia. And that's something I've worked on all my life. But, everybody in here has been working on lots of things. It doesn't matter what it is. It's lots. I assume lots of things, except for Roger. He'll be talking next week on his personal improvements.
More problems.
Again, being gay was not something that was very popular. The third item is inaccurate conclusions we drew as a kid. Did anybody have any inaccurate conclusions? A few of us. For me, I drew the conclusion that I was not smart, and I am smart, and I can tell you that now, but I didn't know that. They held me back in the third grade. I was in the third grade twice. It didn't bother me. I made new friends. I was a new thought person in my heart. Because I'm like, well, that's okay. I got friends here, I got friends there. So, I'll make new friends, keep on with it. But anyway, they told my mother she will never amount to anything. If we can get her through school, you'll be lucky. And I got through school. I also drew the inaccurate conclusion that I'd be a nurse or a teacher. Well, because that's what they told us back then. Well, I didn't work I had a big job in a corporation, so I got out of that one too. And of course, I was told I would get married to a man, and that would be the way I'd live my life, and have a bunch of kids. Well, I married Rebecca 43 years ago, and to my knowledge, we don't have any children. And we are very happy together. So again, it's that cultural conditioning, which is why that really caught my eye, that saying. Be yourself. Oscar Wilde says, be yourself. Everyone else is taken. And once we become ourselves, your family's happier, you're happier. I'll tell you a great story of my family. My brother, I'm close to my brother and his 2 children, his wife and 2 children. And the children now are 25 and 22. When my nephew was 7 and his sister was a couple years older, they were having an argument, they were having a fight. And their mom came in and said, what are you 2 fighting about? And my nephew Sam Dailey said, she's lying to me, my sister's lying. And Mommy said, what's the problem? What are you lying about? And the sister, who's now like 13, 14, says, I told him that Ellen is gay, and he is upset. And he said, Ellen can't be gay, she's so pretty, I like her, she's so funny, I just think she's the best. And Jen said she's gay. And he hardly knows what that means, but he's crying because he knows it's bad. And his mother says, well, gay people are just like everybody else. They're tall, they're short, they're good, they're kind, they're funny, they're not funny. And you know 2 people you love very much who are gay. He said, I do? And she said, yes, Aunt Dee and Aunt Beck. And he said, that explains a lot. Again, it's being your the kid's been raised with us. It explains a lot, and he walks away. The kid's been raised with Aunt Dee and Aunt Bet, and they've been to our house here in the mountains, and I would always say, you know, when my friends come, we're not going to be out in the parking lot matching the boys with the girls. It'll be 2 boys, 2 girls, you know, we're not hiding who we are. We are who we are, and I don't care what these kids, you know, these kids need to know it. So of course they accept us greatly. He doesn't even think about it. So where did I get all this? Well, a lot of this really comes from, you can't see it, but it's the New Thought. All of these teachers, I am fascinated with these teachers from New Thought, going back to the 1800s. Ironically, you read an Emily Cady, and I brought an Emily Cady book to mention in the Daily Word. Emily, who knows about Emily Cady? Okay, quite a few of you. She was a doctor, a medical doctor in the 1800s, one of the first physicians. She was she also was homeopathic doctor. She meets up with Charles and Mildred Fillmore out in the Middle West somewhere under the teaching of Emma Curtis Hopkins. They become friends. She's a great author, and she's very direct in what she has to say. So Mr. Fillmore said, well, why don't you write some stuff for my articles? Because as you know, Unity did not start as a church. It was a publication. It was practical spirituality. So she writes this stuff, and you read it, and although a lot of it's not still relevant today, a lot of it still is, which you just read. And it's about what if, be yourself, and I just find that phenomenal. So when I talk, I usually will bring a little history up, because even though I still follow all the Oprah and all the new people and everything, I'm always fascinated that these women in the 1800s are talking that way. They're geniuses. It's not just the women, of course, it's the men too. I mean, they're true geniuses. Well, they're radical. I mean, it's just amazing to me. So, as I reflect on being my birthday now, you know, to me it's important to say that I am enough. You know, I'm total, I'm complete. And every day that I wake up, I try to remind myself of that. And certainly on a celebration day like this, you say, well, how grateful I am to live in this gorgeous place, to be surrounded by these gorgeous people. And I always take the opportunity when people are relatively new to say, you know, make this your home. Come here and make friends here. These people are good people. There's a real fellowship here. And I've been blessed to be in this Unity, in the Unity Chapel for a couple of years. I studied with the Science of Mind, which is the sister school, but I've learned from both of them. So as I'm going to wrap up, because as I promised, I'm going to start on time, end on time, and all that stuff, and not go too random, as I have a want to do, I want to close with, I am perfect, I am whole, I am complete, and I invite you to do the same. Thank you.
Yeah. Happy birthday!